Hi and welcome. For this piece of the orientation, we're going to take a look at 3 different databases. Our goal here is to look at the different features that are available in databases and what they have in common. So today I have Lexicomp, Dynamed Plus, and CINAHL. On your screen you have Lexicomp, and you see this is a very simple search. There's not a lot of extra boxes, there's not a drop down here. What we do have though up at the top is options to get into some special features of this database like IV compatibility, patient education sheets, right? We have some calculators that are built in. You can identify a drug if you know some of the imprints or the shape and color, and also run some interactions between different types of drugs. So we're going to search by drug name in Lexicomp, and you can see the result list here is not done alphabetically, and it's not done by any other relevance. These series, Lexi Drugs, Pediatric and Neonatal Lexi Drugs, used to be books that you might have at the nurse's station. So now that they're all online, they're popping up the largest series first, this Lexi Drugs series. Before we take a look at the full text of this entry, you can see that we have an updated date to the right. Now for drug information, this is really recent, and we'll see some of those features of why we want recent drug information. When we click into the title, this entry, now this is not a journal article, this entry is completely full text. There's nowhere else to go. You have the ability to jump through the table of contents here to the left, or you can scroll down as well. One of my favorite features is the pronunciations for each of the drug names. Now you'll notice there is not the ability to email this or save it. You can print it out. The reason why is this is the actual product used in practice, so we don't want someone emailing themselves a drug monograph and then 2 days later there's a change. So they really want this to be used at point of need. This is a bedside care tool. It's supposed to be used at the point of need with the patient. Now for your classwork, that makes it a little tricky. You have to do some cutting and pasting, or you can just remember the name of the entry or make some notes. Very similar to Lexicomp, we're going to start to see some similarities here. This single search box with options up at the top. Dynamed Plus is a bedside care tool. Again, it's meant to be used at the bedside of a patient. So these are for clinical pieces. This one happens to be really large for Dynamed, but oftentimes maybe you're just getting a handful of results, and that's okay. That's what this looks like. And it drops you to the things that they deem most relevant for clinical care. So we see a little bit about the entry before we get in there. And so we do have a febrile seizure here, so if we were looking for that due to a fever, and again, you're going to start to see these similarities. We have the topic table of contents to the left, and we have bulleted points here of content. Now, Dynamed and Lexicomp are bedside care tools used for clinicians. These have to be easy to navigate so that people can get to that information quickly. So you're not going to get paragraphs here. You're going to get bullets, but all of this stuff is heavily, heavily referenced. You do also have an updates feature here in Dynamed that will tell you when that item gets updated. So both of those entries you find in Lexicomp and Dynamed are dynamic. They change over time. Now, switching gears, moving to an article database, this is CINAHL, it stands for the Cumulative Index for Nursing and Allied Health Literature. We automatically see it's different. We have multiple boxes that are here. We still have the bar up at the top with some other options, which we do have evidence-based care sheets. And we do, I believe in here, so we have the CINAHL headings that we'll talk about much later in your program, some evidence-based care sheets that will be similar to quick lessons about a condition, but here you have lots of ways to narrow down your search. With Lexicomp and Dynamed, we did not have those options. Seizures. So I did a very simple search in here, and we've got 52,000 results. That is why we need a lot more limiters to limit this down. In this list, we can change the order, unlike we saw in LexiComp and Dynamed. We can do it by the oldest or the newest. So oftentimes I'll toggle between relevance and date newest, but very important is, just like online shopping, to the left we have the ability here to select that peer-reviewed, which is what you're going to need for class, so make sure you're looking for that peer-reviewed button. Then we also have the ability to change dates, and always check with your professor about what they mean about what is recent. What is recent for this topic? How old of an article can I use? How far back can I go? Now we're still here at 41,000. That's because we haven't added anything else here. We would in reality be adding a couple more topics to our bars up at the top. We're just going to use this first one as an example. Before we take a look at the full text here, we do have some more information about it. The journal information right below the title, and then right below that we see some subjects. This is control vocabulary that we use to tag articles. When we click on the title, now we're getting into the whole record for the article. So you've noticed there's a couple more clicks and a couple more steps in these type of databases. So we have the abstract or the summary of the article, and then over to the left-hand side is the full text availability. This one has a PDF, you might see an HTML, or you might see a link that says get it at Fisher. Now to the right we have some features that'll be handy as you start your work. You can email this citation and the PDF to yourself. You can connect to your Google Drive and start to throw that in here. This folder feature that you see, this yellow folder, it's temporary until you sign into an account. Just like shopping, you can create a temporary cart, or you can create a permanent cart where you're coming back into CINAHL often. I did want to point out one of my favorite features here is the citing feature, which will start to build your APA citations. Now remember, this is a start. Always double check to make sure that it's done correctly. For example, in this one I can see that all of the authors' names are in capital letters for their last names, and they shouldn't be. So yes, you can use these cite buttons, but make sure that you're double checking them. We also have the ability to email it to ourselves, to others, and this permalink, when you click on it, shows up above the title. That is the URL you want to use if you and a group are using a Google Doc to keep track of articles. If you used the URL way up at the top of the page in the bar for our browser, that information might not be stable and might not last long enough for your group work. So try to use that permalink. So we can already see some of the major differences between these three different types of databases. The two patient care tools, and then this one, which is for articles. But what are the similarities? You choose a resource that could answer your question. You input information, you narrow down how many results you have, and then you select one. So though they have a lot of dissimilar features, they also share that same base similarity.